Welcome to the Creative Play and Podcast Network. Join us as we review our favorite RPGs, collectible card games, MMOs, video games, PC games, and bring up interesting topics and things that we'd like to share with everyone. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Kelly, aka Trixie from Ragnarok and Roll, assigned to Ragnarok Story, and Tilda Wimblewick from D&D Journey of the 5th Edition. First off, I would just like to say thank you to everyone for listening to our varied adventures, as well as for rating us on iTunes and RPGpodcast.com. If you haven't rated us yet, we would greatly appreciate it if you could. And if you're looking for more ways to support our efforts, we are now on Patreon, a great site where you can help us continue making more podcasts, as well as some special surprises for our patrons. If you can, please look us up at www.patreon.com/cppn. Every little bit helps. And again, thank you for listening.
So that's what, when you wear full suits of armor that are like ungodly heavy and ungodly sweaty, any inhibitions go straight out the door.
Are we good to get started?
It is 11:26. You have 4 minutes.
I'm gonna make you wait. Or we could start and you guys have more room for questions. I mean,
Yeah, we know that
win-win?
we're going to squirrel around somewhere.
Yeah, okay, all right. So we're going to start the introduction. So this is a 3D printing and non-technical version.
Yes.
So, just press the next slide. Cool. So we'll do our introductions here, and we'll start with you, Brad.
My name is Brad Boscarino. I started 3D printing,
Ooh, good lord.
8 years ago?
Yeah.
At least 8 years ago. My first really 3D printing project is, don't ask me why, is that guy right there, BB-8. I don't know why I should start with the most difficult thing I ever can think of, but I did. So I cut my teeth on doing printing with him, learning how to build it, and the engineering part of BB-8 for my printing background. I'm now up to 5 FDM 3D printers and 2 resin printers. So.
One thing to add to Brad's, he doesn't just do BB-8.
Oh yeah, we just. Yeah, my Halo armor and stuff like that I started with too.
He does Halo, armor,
Props.
helmets, armor, props, and stuff. Just, don't sell yourself short there.
Oh, like,
Since you started talking about it, you can introduce yourself too now.
Oh, it's going to be this way.
Gosh.
All right. Look, I haven't had a whole lot of water yet, so I'm a little dehydrated. Really? You know what? Stop. Go away. My name's Rob, or Papa Fallout on my ID page that I just hardly don't know how to use yet because I'm technically,
Who are you?
whatever.
I didn't.
Rob.
Yeah, the Papa Fallout, I'm sorry. It's,
Papa Fallout.
somebody's going down this weekend. Rob, Papa Fallout is on my Instagram page. I run a group of these miscreants called New Arizona Republic. I've been printing for probably
You're probably at 4 by now.
no more than that. Probably
Really?
5
5.
years.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Got one. 'Cause I'm just around the corner.
5 years. I've got 6 FDM printers. I got into it specifically for cosplay. I print helmets. This big beastie came off my printer a couple weeks ago, or 2 of my printers a couple weeks ago. I do everything from little knives all the way up to full suits of armor now, like 6 foot tall, 7 foot tall suits of armor, fully head to toe. Why? I have no idea, but
That's awesome.
you know, whatever.
I just put your big G stuff in here so you can see.
Yeah, I'm currently, okay. I was supposed to be debuting my Godzilla armor this weekend, but a tree fell on my house and trying to put a stop to that. Yeah, that puts a real damper on things. And so we will move down over.
Hi everybody, I'm NoveruneCosplay. I've been 3D printing for just a little under 3 years now. I do everything from electronics control boxes inside my suits all the way up to full-size suits of armor, which was just my most recent with my Mandalorian and jetpack there. If you guys want to see it at the end, feel free to inspect. It's got a broken piece too, so you can see the definition of the colors we work with filament. They're very bright.
Yeah, I was on sale.
Yep. And so yeah, from there I do just about a little bit of everything, from you name it, from electronics to 3D modeling, and starting to learn 3D modeling and create my own costumes and products that I need.
And my name is ThermoCosplay, and I don't 3D print, but I finish 3D printed products, and I wear what they print. So I have the illustrious honor of taking what they print and figuring out how to make it perfecto, and then wear it.
Finishing
Finishing, see, and I like finishing.
Sorry.
I find it therapeutic.
I'm sorry.
Oh
about
gosh,
this.
it was so inappropriate, sorry.
Finishing
Dang it, Rob.
sucks.
Okay, we're gonna move on to the next slide.
Yeah, let's keep going.
Yeah, let's keep
Okay.
going.
Oh, okay, so we're gonna talk about 3D print basics, and we're gonna focus on the type of filaments first that you can use. So we're trying to go as non-technical as possible, but let's give you some basic information on the type of filaments. So one I'm familiar with is he's used it for mine before as PLA Plus. It prints out a lot smoother. It's super fine. It's a lot more durable, and you don't
It
have
is.
to print as many layers.
And it's a lot more heat
It
resistant
is,
than
yeah,
regular
it's heat
PLA.
resistant. 'Cause I may have forgotten while my helmet was in my backyard
Oh.
drying for automotive primer for 2 hours. It was perfectly fine. So it is really, I prefer PLA Plus.
Yeah. It's
But-
like, 'cause we live in this nice, great state of Arizona, which outside is half the temperature that you actually melt the plastic at. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's gonna,
Just
you gotta
try-
be, you gotta be a little bit
Don't let it
careful
have
with
direct
something.
contact with concrete. What I usually do is I put it on a box or something that
Yeah.
elevates it, and it can withstand the heat a bit better for me. But I use PLA Plus. Like when he's printing stuff for me, I buy him the PLA Plus filament because it is more durable because we are in a arid environment.
So, PLA, just a suggestion, if you've never printed before, I would start with PLA, just regular PLA. And the reason why, because it's cheap,
Yeah.
it's cheap. And if you're just starting out,
You're gonna make mistakes.
you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna just, you're gonna make some really cool pieces of art. I'm not kidding, and if you're really
Little
creative,
monsters.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, you can do, you can do like, it's called spaghetti, and if you're really cool, really cool and really artistic, you take that spaghetti, you put some resin on it, drill a hole in it, jam a light in it, and you sell it for $300 or $400, which people do. Okay, so PLA, get your roll of PLA and start with that. PLA Plus, like Sam was alluding to, it's got a higher heat range, but it has the exact same settings as regular PLA.
Correct.
And you get much more benefits out of the PLA Plus. This
also
is
very
all
agreeable.
PLA Plus. If you guys come up after we do
Yeah.
you'll see in the touchy feely, yours is all
Who?
your
BB? BB is PET G carbon fiber.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
and we'll get into the
More exotic stuff.
Yeah, there's like PET G and polycarbonate,
Yeah.
which are good for like thing that needs to be really, really durable.
Yeah.
And for this mask that you're seeing starting to get printed here,
Yeah.
this is, so if you can go to the next slide.
Yeah.
This is TPU and this is flexible. So I've taken this and he's helping me print a mask for a Turian from Mass Effect. And you can throw it against walls, it bounces.
fun.
You can fold it so you can.
Oh, it's just fun.
And I'm painting it with the type of paint that is flexible too. So I can fold it and roll it and put it in a little baggie and not have to worry about it getting damaged. Like, it's really cool.
So,
And then PET G, just straight PET G is what your water bottle's made out of. So it's got,
Yeah.
the reason why I had to use the carbon part of it, if I built one of his panels out of straight this bottle water stuff, he's squishy. So the carbon chopped up that's inside the filament gives him the rigidity that he won't, like the panels won't flex when he tries to roll across the ground.
And that's one thing, we're talking about non-technical here, so think about
Yeah.
what it is you're wanting to create. What are you trying to either commission or print on your printer? What is it going to be used for? And then that will determine what type of filament you actually need.
Correct.
and so PLA Plus are pretty durable, but they're not flexible at all. And they're easy to use. They're easy to put on your printer. PET G has a bit of a learning curve.
Yes.
But the flip side of that is you have a lot more durability, a lot more heat
resistance.
resistance. TPU,
Yeah. You have to have a special
You actually-
plate you have to print on.
yeah, you actually have to have a special plate. You have to,
Special nozzles.
yeah, special nozzles. You are better off stepping up to what they call a direct drive printer now. We're not getting into the technical end of it.
But like, can I just say something for
Yeah.
anybody who that wants to do masks and have them form fitted to your face and not be super uncomfortable? All I'm doing is I'm putting on a balaclava that's made out of leather and I'm painting it to look like the scales of the creature. And I'm using magnets and washers to magnetize this to my face. So when I need a break, I just take the whole freaking thing off, and I don't have to do what I've done today, where I've done a ton of makeup and I'm gonna have an hour after the con removing.
And it's like TPU, again, TPU is, it's really flexible, it's really durable, it has everything.
Butt armor. It's good for butt and crotch armor, so you can
Yeah.
sit down.
Oh my God.
You can abuse TPU.
Yeah.
But the flip side of that is
Wear some plastic
finishing
underwear, guys.
it, painting it, sanding it.
It's hard. It is a little bit more. You do have to use more flexible. So I'm spending a lot of time with Reynolds, and I'm actually experimenting with some stuff. Reynolds is a supplier in the Valley that provides smooth-on materials, but you can just go smooth on the smooth-on website, and they have stuff to help treat TPU.
Correct. And like the regular PLA, the regular PETG, the regular harder plastics, you can
I use
sand down.
STC3D, which works really well.
We'll get into the finishing a
Yeah,
little
we're
bit
gonna go more
further.
into that, but
Yeah.
these are just kind of like basic filaments,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Should we break in between each section and ask, take a few questions, or you wanna do it?
Oh, let's just run through.
Just run
Okay.
it.
All right,
Run
so
it.
let's go ahead
Because
and
if we're
go
gonna,
to
we're gonna
the
squirrel
next-
off,
let's
we're
go to
never
the
gonna
next
come back.
Oh, we're gonna.
Okay.
3D
so
printing
this is
is
another,
a black hole
This
that
is
you
another
can-
example. What did you? Is this just PLA
PLA Plus?
for
Big G
Big
sound.
G?
Oh, I don't even know what's on there. Oh, yeah,
Gee.
that's PLA Plus. That's actually called PLA Plus. What's the new SL? A company sent me about 10 rolls of this stuff to try out. It's got a much higher heat threshold than PLA Plus. At the time I printed that, it wasn't even available on the market. So, and I tested it out for them. That stuff, I left that helmet out in July. It was 117 degrees outside for about 8 hours just to see if it would melt the helmet. Now, mind you, I'm completely dumb because there's 300 hours of print time in that helmet. So, but I had to because I have a questionnaire and a thing. It was about close to, at that point, about $800 worth of film that they sent me just to try out for Big G. I'm doing God's alarm. So,
Did the helmet melt?
huh?
Did it melt?
Nope.
Luckily.
Yeah, luckily. And believe me, every 20 minutes, I'm like looking out the window going, oh my God, oh my God. And I got my heat gun and I'm like, I don't want to go outside because I'm going to stick my finger through it. And I'm like, I got one of those thermal heat guns. I'm going, please don't melt, please don't melt, please don't melt, please don't melt. Oh yeah.
But
Yeah,
we're
it
gonna
passed.
move into the next step, which is a little bit boring. I'm sorry, but it's most important. And that is safety equipment and tools. So I'm going to say that some people I know don't seal up their 3D printers. I highly recommend putting your 3D printer, regardless of what filament you're using, into a ventilated space that's secure, and so anything off-gassing can be taken out of your home. New studies are coming in proving that even the supposedly non-toxic 3D printers are causing strange issues with memory and fatigue. So until they can figure out why that's happening, please put it in a ventilated space. It could be something else causing it, but they are showing signs of it. So just be careful. And if you're working with the 3D printed element, you're finishing it, you need to be wearing a mask or a respirator and safety goggles. I had a fight with the helmet that he made for me because I was having issues with the shield off-gassing, so I had to take it off because it's bubbling. And I managed to get it off, but as I'm peeling it off, the pieces of plastic are flying, and my face is fine, but my hands have cuts all over them from where the plastic assaulted me. So just be careful, wear gloves too, because my gloves, I lost one of my gloves and was like, I'm fine, I'll just, nope, bad decision.
So the same things you use for, let's say, doing foam armor,
Yeah.
and wood armor. I mean,
I use automotive gloves too,
You're-
because
you're
you
using-
can feel more tactile.
you're using the same sandpaper, you're using the same fillers, you're using the same primers, you're using the same paints. You're not really using anything really different. It doesn't really take anything different than you would.
It's a general safety equipment that
Yeah,
especially if you're making
it's just a
props or
safety
big armors,
equipment
you
that you
really
would
should
use
have.
normally, like your regular,
Most of the 3D prints, the 3D printed products, you can use basic woodworking tools to
Yeah, like a rotary
manipulate it.
tool and
So anything you would
sandpaper.
use like from like MDF or anything like that, like respirator, gloves, dust collection,
Yep.
sanders, all that stuff, you would want to translate into to roughing and finishing your props.
Yeah.
I think you have a resin 3D printer, right?
No, I just use the photo resin to finish.
Okay.
FDM
So
prints.
the only other thing on the safety thing for that side is
It's removing the toxins from anything.
the stuff I'm printing stuff with liquid resin. It's photo cured by light, so it might be liquid on your hands, it might be liquid into your hands, and then you go outside and it becomes
Concrete.
solid inside your hand. So gloves are a huge thing, respirators are a huge thing, safety glasses are even bigger. So
Your
that's the
eyes are
only other
important.
caveat I would have, an add-on for not hard plastic but liquid.
So
Yeah.
to avoid, okay, I'm gonna get technical for a second. What we're talking about is there's two versions of printers right now. There's what's called an FDM printer. I don't remember what it's called.
Use
deposition.
So, okay, and what that is you're basically taking and melting plastic and doing layer by layer. The SLA is,
liquid vat, and then
yeah,
pulls. And basically, it's a liquid vat with either a UV light or a UV laser that cures it and then builds it from the top up.
it's really both processes are cool, but the SLA ones are even neater because it's a light that goes along and solidifies the resin.
Yeah,
layer
this is
by
actually
layer
part of
by
this
layer.
topic, Rob. We were talking about tools. So these are the two different types of printers you
Yeah.
can use. So like those
Yeah,
are tools
correct.
you use for 3D printing.
Yeah, and that's why the safety is a little bit more,
Yeah.
like Brad was referring to, is a little bit more critical on the SLA printers.
Well, and another thing too you want to think about, so because you're working with something that could potentially be a bit more brittle if it's not TPU, you need to think about how you have your cutting implements. You can absolutely use a rotary tool, but it has to be in a really low setting, and I suggest the flex shaft for control. But I highly recommend just getting a soldering iron with a attachment that looks like a X-Acto blade.
And
So
she's
you
talking
have
about
cutting-
this for the FDM printing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
for
FDM printing. For resin, it's
It's totally different.
yeah, it's very different.
You just gotta
But
cut
you
it.
just want to look at the types of cutting resources you
Oh,
have as well, because if you need to
it
trim something
shatters, too.
down,
It explodes.
then you have to be very careful, like how you cut your objects, or you're going to break the whole thing.
Okay.
So, all right,
Do we
go
have a
next.
next slide?
Yeah.
Holy crap!
I was showing examples of like what a printer looks like.
Oh,
and
that's-
Oh, look, my living room.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's my kitchen before
Here's
I
my
moved it into
kitchen.
my living room.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just thought I chose some more examples.
Hey,
so I was
that's
just
my
kind of
first
gearing here,
printer.
so-
That's like 6
I'm in
years
there?
ago.
I've
That's
got photos,
crazy.
I've got photos of you in here.
Oh,
I
really?
think it's your handle number. I'm not sure.
I don't know. That's gonna be interesting to me.
I went to
Let's
fire
go on an
chief.
adventure together.
I was
Okay.
Some of us haven't
We're
seen
gonna
these slides.
Can I just say that I went to all of your different groups and pages and I was like,
Oh. Okay. Okay. Just leave.
I know where
Yeah,
you all
let's
live.
go, Brad.
All right, go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So now we're going to talk about materials.
Yep.
Sorry, no, my content shifted in. That was weird. So we're just we talked about the printing filaments. So now we're going to talk about materials you use after you printed something. So this is kind of closer to when you're trying to finish the product and seal, paint, seal, prep it for painting, then after painting, seal, stuff like that. So one of the most important things is priming your 3D prints. So how do you prime 3D prints, Brad?
For me, resin. The resin ones is basically a clear coat or something to seal it up after it's been UV cured. Anything I've done for like PETG or for that is just regular sand, like sanding, and then just regular 2-in-1 primer or filler primer, and then up.
What kind of filler primer do you use?
I found this really cool one that's only people that has imported in Las Vegas of all places. It's a high build, like almost like spray putty. So it's like the 2-in-1 filler sander primer is basically the same thing. It's just thicker than this. I would not recommend using it on something that's super detailed because the way it lays it out and it self levels and stuff, you'll start losing things.
Yeah,
Luckily,
do you use it? Use sculpting tools? So I have
Correct.
sculpting tools that are used for wood, and they're very useful.
that's what happened. I had it like that. So on BB-8,
Yeah.
like when I do one of his whole panels, it smooths out the whole panel nicely, but I have to go back and make sure the little circles
And
are all done.
sometimes that's for some builds. That's like what looks really cool when you do that, because it adds more like a bevel
Yeah.
or an emboss of some kind, whatever you need. But like other things where it's just super fine and you don't even know where it is anymore, I really don't use that.
And I do recommend for if you can use it, power tool, power sanders kind of are your
Hand
friend.
sanders, yeah.
Palm sander, orbital sander, you know, same
Make the
thing.
work easy on
Yeah,
yourself
yeah.
because you will stay there for
Because
a
you're
while.
gonna, if you get into
for that.
what is the thing between everybody, right? If you're into 3D printing, you're gonna start loving sanding, or
Yeah.
be one with sanding. Just realize you're gonna be
Tendonitis.
print, sand, primer, sand, primer,
Paint,
sand, primer, maybe
print,
paint.
sand.
Like your arms
Fix
are gonna
what you
look,
just
your
broke
arms
because
are
you
going to look
pressed too hard,
fabulous,
Sam.
okay? Your arms are going to look fabulous. It's
Yeah,
fine.
exactly.
What do you use, Rob?
It depends on what I'm doing. Like this, and I hate finishing work, so I take an exorbitantly long amount of time when I print stuff. Like this, I'll hit with a product called XTC 3D, which is like a 2-part resin product from Smooth On. And what you do is you coat it, and it fills in all like the ridges and the valleys and stuff, and smooths it all out. It's a self-leveling
Yeah.
product. And then after that, I'll do it in small batches, and then I don't quite use the high build stuff, like Brados the paint, because unless I do it down, what I call a down and dirty print, which is a quick print that I have to get done really fast, but something I take my time with, I'll use it's called sandable primer.
It's
Home
automotive
Depot.
primer.
Yeah, Home Depot.
Yeah.
I get
You
mine.
just go to
from
the
Harbor.
automotive
Yeah, I go to
place,
Harbor Freight because it's cheap.
section, whatever it is.
And I'll hit it with that and just sand.
I got it for $5.95. It's like for some reason always on sale. It's like I hate it.
Coupons.
But yeah, I used the automotive filler primer for the first time because I used the 2-in-1 filler primer for a while, and then I used XTC 3D. But that automotive one has worked so much. It's creating such a smooth surface, and
Yeah.
the great thing is because it dries so rough, when you smooth it, it's just
Yeah, one of the things, because we were alluding to with the heat in Arizona, painting. Oh, hello. Painting sucks.
I got it. Don't worry, I got this.
I think they're connected.
second one from.
Oh, let's destroy their panel.
Uh-oh, it is. It's like kind of. It's like we're fighting each
You guys
other.
are fighting.
Well, we do apologize.
I got this. I got my Nintendo finger. Ready? Go.
Oh my God.
All right. Painting is.
I'm winning.
It's super right though.
Oh, hello.
I can't.
Oh,
I
that's
have no
Okay.
power.
Well,
Anyway.
you can kind of vaguely see. Yeah.
do apologize.
Watch out, yeah. Painting out here, you've got to watch, again, with any of the products we're going to talk about, anything that's highly detailed.
Keep going. I got this.
Okay, all right. Anything with a highly detail, you have to watch, like the Smooth On. Ben's going to.
Even just halfway, like. If
I can't. As
No,
soon
I'm
as,
saying
as, soon as I let go, it goes back
Fabio,
up.
just tell them like halfway would be perfect.
Ben's
How
going to
about
talk
you do it
about.
when you change slides? Then you can just, when we see the slide, then.
Oh, I think you're winning.
No. Just keep going.
Okay.
You got this.
Ben's going to talk about another product, but you got to watch when you use these products, because
Yeah.
if you have anything highly detailed, you'll lose that detail in about 2 seconds.
Our room's breathing, guys.
Because these products will, a term we use is called cook off fast,
Yeah.
which is most of them are 2-part resin products. Well, now they're messing with you.
Yeah, now they're.
Now, you know what? Oh, no, I think it goes in the hallway, but
It's all right.
But so you just watch. But again, painting out here is we have when I paint, I literally get up at about 3 in the morning and do my painting, because otherwise you'll get, as primers are notorious for, I call it the sand effect. You know, because if you paint, like if I'm going to paint this,
They're laughing next door, it's doing the same thing.
oh right,
Oh.
and I'm
They
like
can't
right
fix it.
here,
There's no way.
it'll come out like sand. And then
Yeah.
you just
It's drying before it hits
It's
you.
drying before it hits. So your window, especially this time of year, same thing will happen with your curing of your whatever you use to smooth with the products that we're talking about. Because they're all, most of them are essentially resin-based products. So, but yeah,
Smaller.
the paints and then painting, and then Ben will talk about another fairly new process, which I haven't really tried yet because I like my XTC and Ben likes his resin. And
So one of the things, lots of times, one of the biggest pain in the rear ends when you're doing this is if you're using a filler primer, you have to spray it and you have to forget it. You have to wait
How about
If
it
you don't let it dry, you're gonna smear it. It won't look good. It won't sand correctly. It'll start to
I
come
feel like
up
it's
on
shorter
you,
than the
and
other
then it'll
guys.
take a big chunk. And so lots of times, the hardest part about finishing work is all that just thumb spinning you do at the end. Well, I wanted to try and find a way that allowed me to go from the printer to paint it in one day. And one of the things I found that allowed me to do that was by using my FDM printer to create the structure, create the helmet with most of whatnot. I have details. They're not very insane. Most of my details I put on after the finishing. So I have small embossments that I'll print off. Now, with it, it's got the same photo resin that's used for the SLA printers.
Right.
So the cool part about the SLA resin is that it doesn't cure until you hit it with a UV light. Now, I do urge caution. It gases. They always say low odor. It's in no way low odor. You are being exposed to VOCs, so be in a very well ventilated area. Do it over a table. Don't do it over yourself because you hit that UV light. It's going to get 160 degrees or more. It's going to burn you, and it's going to stick to you like super glue. Beyond that, though, you can literally brush it on with a paintbrush, and it doesn't even have to be perfect. You can be kind of sloppy. Just make sure your detailed sharp edges. Hit it with the UV light. About 4 or 5 layers later, you rinse it with your alcohol or acetone, depending on what resin you have, because some will react differently. The one I use is just isopropyl alcohol. You wipe it clean. You give it one more good blast with the UV light, and you can sand it and paint it in the same day. And it is back to back to back to back. And there's no wait time, so you're not worrying about your resin turning into a block inside of the cup while you're trying to put it on, or it gets chunky. It's really quick, but it is, I like to say, a little bit more, you have to be very cautious. Because I have a good sized burn on my foot between my toes because I wasn't paying attention, and I cooked myself earlier this week before here using photo resin. So it will burn you. It'll take a chunk of you with it. But beyond that, that jetpack right there, you guys saw an image of it earlier. It's all purple, but I got that done, chromed, and ready to go after sanding in one day. Pulled it off the print and assembled
I
it.
realized one thing we forgot to talk about before we went into this, but it's fine, is what we glue our pieces together with.
I use A and B, just regular A and B epoxy.
A and B epoxy? Okay. just
I
like-
use epoxy and
CA glue,
CA
right?
glue,
Yeah.
with accelerator.
I use it.
I weld
Pissed
mine
off
together
CA
with
CA glue.
a
Yeah,
wood
yeah,
burner.
pissed off CA glue.
Yeah.
So I use a 3D pen, which is a 3D printer that you use with your own hand. You're not as good as your 3D printer, so don't try. But what I'll do lots of times, I'll use it to fill gaps, and then whatever's rough at the end, I use a flat paddle wood burner, and I weld the entire piece together.
If you know how to weld, it's so
I
satisfying.
weld mine with
To
Bondic.
plastic weld.
Because Bondic is a photo curing resin, so it comes out as a gel, it's a pen.
Each
You
one
fill
has-
it in, and then you cure it, and it makes it a flexible one. It's a flexible joint too, so for some reason someone loves it too, instead of it shattering, it just flexes a
So
little
it's
bit.
it's funny, we just described 4 different ways
Yep.
to glue something together. All 4 different ways work,
Yep.
and it's whatever works for you.
Yeah.
And whatever works.
Whatever the,
Yeah.
I like Bondic because I have more control. Like
Yeah,
my
it's
my
whatever,
hands
yeah.
shake at certain angles, so I can't use the larger, like I can't squeeze it, but the Bondic pen is so easy to maneuver, it doesn't bother my hand that much.
I've been using CA glue for years and years and years. And
I use CA glue.
Yeah,
I have it,
epoxy
like,
glue.
that's how he's held together sometimes too.
Yeah.
Oh, he broke. I got CA glue and an accelerator to the shoes.
Yeah.
Can we go to the next slide? Thank you.
Oh, look, it's
So-
Phoebe.
Yeah, Phoebe. So.
That's version 1 too. Holy cow, that's an old one.
Attachments, and I was doing attachments and robotics. So how did you get the BB put together?
Most of him is put together by, now it is like the regular 3D printed hard part. I have modeled in little reliefs. It's not gonna break. It's gonna break. Whatever. There's now a mechanical thing that they have out now is they're little brass inserts. So you heat them up with like a soldering iron or a bit like a heated, like a soldering iron or wood burner, and you can press it into your plastic. It's got a knurled end on it, so you now have a mechanical fit connection where you can take out the screw, put the screw back in. So all his parts, the circles, all the triangles and all that are all held together by those heat inserts, and they're non-magnetic for me because I have to worry about magnetics because that's how his head stays on. So those things will be able to sit in there, and they have stainless steel screws that go in there.
Commercially now they're called thread inserts.
Thread inserts, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a hard time when I was building them. I could only only McCaster car
Yeah.
had them. I could get local or not locally, but like I was able to get. Now you can find them. Amazon has them
Yeah,
now.
you can buy them at Ace
They're,
Hardware.
like what they remind me of, me come from an automotive background, is a.
We'll just press it again to show them the next slide, and then if it comes back up, whatever.
Yeah.
No, and wait, here, go
Yay! Just go halfway, not right in crazy evil. Just one more down. Come on. Come on.
Oh, I can't remember what the heck I'm looking for.
Yeah, technical
No,
difficulty.
it just means that when they program the rooms, they just forgot to program
So
them separately.
when you're using structurally, like structural stuff,
Yeah.
that's one of the biggies about doing anything like doing suits of armor or doing like BB-8 with robotics and stuff, is you actually have to choose a material
Yeah.
that's structurally sound. Like PLA Plus, I would not suggest because it's not got the structurally soundness to it.
Polycarbonate, PET.
Hang on. You can work around that the better you get.
Yeah.
Okay? Starting out, I would suggest you go with like PETG or carbon fiber or something else.
Yeah.
that can work
So inside BB-8's drive system, I have a regular standard parts that are printed in PLA, but I've reinforced where like servos connect and stuff like that connect with a piece of aluminum and stuff that's cut out that way. So you can still use that, but you just realize that I know that this up and down force is going to shear that plastic, so we have some way of actually doing it. So.
Yeah, so we kind of talk about other ways to put things together. You can use like different straps and magnets, and you can use, say you're trying to attach something, so we talked about like putting it together, kind of like robotics. If you're trying to attach things to your 3D print, so you can wear it as a helmet or armor, you can use like nylon webbing, or nylon strapping. You can use zippers and open eye closures. I actually like to.
Rip his head
I like to glue. Yeah, I like
Happens
to.
in the movie, it's okay now.
I like to.
Really? You're just
canon.
gonna rip his head off again?
I'll say like mechanically ways I'm trying to get this so you can actually see the magnets.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah, I like to glue washers and then have magnets on one side, washers on the other, so that it's like.
oh,
There
yeah.
And here we go.
you go. I think what it is the first room happens to be the control for all the others.
I agree.
Because typically the master room has a control.
Well, this room, they get it.
Well, everybody has. It's just.
Focus, guys.
Focus.
I'm sorry.
I'm not worried about the
But,
lights no
no,
more.
I prefer to use nylon webbing, and then to attach it, I like to use, I'll put a little bit of like maybe E6000 to secure it down, but then I put the Cosplay reinforcer over it, and it keeps it in place. My Amanda armor wore all day long, ran into people, chipped my armor, chipped my paint. That webbing
It's
did
natural
not
webbing.
budge.
It's
No, budge.
battle damage.
Battle damage, yes. So I like to use Cosbond for attaching like webbing and snaps and other things.
If you don't know what Cosbond is,
It's awesome.
and you're a
The reinforcer
cosplayer,
is perfect for 3D prints.
go from here, get on your phone, look at Cosbond. It comes in sheets and it's attached, it comes in sheets
And
of
it's made in
attachment
Seattle,
stuff.
so it's made in the US.
That stuff changed my life
You don't do it forever.
of doing big, I do large, stupid costumes. And I don't use E6000 at
So you
all
can see,
anymore
is
for
that your
attaching.
armor? Is that your armor?
Holy crap, it is.
Oh,
I
but
was
it is.
right.
But anyways,
I
so
was like, I think that's
look up Cosbond
Yeah, that's my
product.
The bottom.
It'll change your life. It attaches to foam, it attaches to everything.
And but you can see, like, he did his big G, and he's got a pair of gloves, and he just glued
No.
the armor bit
Oh,
onto
oh,
it
that?
so
Oh,
it's easy
yeah.
to wear it. So you
Yeah.
can slide the gloves on and off. So there's other things
I
you can
don't
do, too.
suggest, unless you really know what you're doing with CA glue, doing it how I did it. That
Did
was,
you not wear a glove underneath it?
oh, hell no. That's like 2 o'clock in the morning. That's 2 o'clock in the morning going, I am
Get
gonna
some
go to
nitrile
CCC.
gloves and wear them inside
All
first,
right,
so you don't glue
one
them
eye-
On
onto it.
Xbox Live with him in my ear, hearing him go ow, 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 ow while he's cooking himself.
Because I got the glove on and I'm doing this with the pieces full of, pissed off super glue going,
Memories.
oh crap, I don't have a glove on. Mother!
Terrible.
Over Xbox Live
Oh, yeah,
playing
it's
Fallout
great.
76. You know.
Giant listening. Ow, ow, ow. I was like, get a glove on.
Or when you're putting strapping in your helmet and you forget that.
So one thing that's like really hard about 3D prints, which we all might be able to relate to, is storing them.
Oh, yeah.
Where do you store your stuff once you've made it? Like
Once
so,
you enter, forfeit all of your free
so
space.
I have inherited a power armor from somebody. And now, as you can see, like he has his armor, here's Mando armor in the cabinet, but the power armor fills an entire walk-in closet after storing. Like I had the whole thing's full. I left space for the last little piece that's gonna go in there. And I have a plan to actually use a lot of like parachute snaps and magnets so that I can take it apart and keep stacking it in the future. Because there's no way I can have it fully built and glued together and store it.
Right. That's just like him. Like I have no place to put him. He's like, if he's here, he's like pushed in the bottom corner. He's in a temperature-controlled area because I don't want him to warp or anything like that. Or if you guys see me that I'm walking around, if I'm literally not in eye shot from him, he's in that little cart with me. I don't want to leave him outside. He doesn't go to a car. He doesn't leave the tank. I don't go to bathroom breaks on road trips with him. He's in the car. I have to hold it because I'm not leaving him in there for like less than 15 minutes. Stuff like that because I don't. Even though he's temperature stable, I'm not going to take the chance of how much time and effort's gone into that.
It literally will take 15 minutes and you'll lose hours and hours and
I know
hours worth
some
that you will
people-
never get back.
Yeah, I know some people that it's actually just cheaper for them to get a temperature controlled storage unit and store it in there because if something goes wrong, they have to reimburse you for every minute because of the insurance claim on it. And a lot of people will just get the small, like, you know, it's like the size of a big closet storage unit, it's really small. And they just store them in there because they don't have space in their own home.
Yep.
Storage
But if
is-
you can't do that or afford it, I highly recommend that keep where you can break it down.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
How do you do this one?
I don't.
Oh, see. Okay.
I don't
It's also
yeah.
think ahead.
Yeah,
One thing we did not touch on. I'm just gonna like what I did
Yeah.
is realize when I first got into 3D printing. Be comfortable with using a computer
Oh,
to
yeah.
a point where he probably had this all nice and where he has the model, and then if you're not comfortable manipulating a model in a 3D space to put a pin in here that he could take this and to put it in half or a piece of rod in there to reinforce it, you're gonna make your life a lot harder.
Or you just need to find somebody who can help you with that, because he and I are working together, because he's my brother, and so he and I work together, and I told him, hey, this is what I need, what do you need from me, like, what do I need to pay for to make this happen? Like, we've got, I have a 6.5-foot sword from an anime that I like to travel with, but obviously, I don't like shipping it places, so we're working on building new structures to easily snap them in
And
and
that one's been a work in progress.
We've broken it
too.
twice.
We're figuring it out.
I put it through plenty of tests for him, and I told him, so this happened this time.
Next, we're going with a horizontal print scale.
Yeah.
We'll see how well that works.
I just keep snapping. I'm not even fighting with these people. I don't know how
Your
to do
layer
this.
is only as strong as the layer above and beneath it. If you were printing something this long and you have a lot of little stacks of paper like this, it's going to snap really easily.
eventually, yeah.
So if you're going to print something long, it says something lots of times, turn it to its side, let it print lengthways. That way, if it slots into itself, it is also a lengthways.
Because I can tell you, I
chuck
swung
that
it
goes
really
anywhere.
aggressively once and
Yeah.
half the blade came off.
So that's
Engineering kind
a
of
bunch of
orientation
a
going on
bunch
in
of the
brain.
stuff we're talking about without getting
Too crazy about
too
it.
crazy
It's
about
just an intro
it.
to
It
what
is,
we have.
it is. But what it all boils down to with, I mean, the reason why this panel was created, the non-technical version, was I was trying to create was,
I had a
do you do you really need a 3D print?
No, you need a friend that has a 3D printer.
Yeah, you need a I'm serious.
I appreciate people in Seattle. To understand
I'm
the finance
serious.
studios,
Do you
commission
really
members.
need? I mean, do you really need a 3D printer? Like, there's certain parts of a costume that I learned the hard way. Do not 3D print them. Like your shin guards. Do not 3D print shin guards.
Sometimes.
I
I barely
No,
fit my
do-
leg in there.
do-
We've
do
all
a
done
TPU. Do a TPU. Make it
Yeah,
simple
do
possible.
it if you want to do a TPU. I mean,
Because I agree with you here. I can't wear
Yeah.
certain leg armor.
yeah,
because
because
it hurts
it's too
bad.
hard.
Yeah.
You need the reason why you don't do your shin armor is because think of your body movements, your dynamics of how your body moves.
That's a hard part.
That's a hard part. this is, again, it's a pinch point. It's things you have to plan. These are the things you plan for. When you're building
Eventually, when you get a real nice purple bubble right here from where you went, yeah, rock on, get a fist bump and put your arm down, and it just kind of chopped you.
Oh, I don't have one today, but I have a blood blister, a permanent blood blister from one of my arms that I get every time I go.
Those are love kisses.
No, they're called arm bites. But you got to think about that. Is look at like again, you know, he was joking with greaves, whatever you call these things, gauntlets.
Gauntlets.
What
Greaves are for your feet, your pants.
I don't care. Those are shin guards. I don't. Anyways, so like gauntlets, you can do gauntlets as a hard part. You can, you know, but you got to make sure that you leave openings because it doesn't move. You know, you don't move this as much as you really do your legs.
Touch your head,
Yeah.
and as you touch your head, mark with a marker right
Yeah.
here where your elbow bends. That's the amount of length you want on a gauntlet. Anything more, you're gonna do this. You got an itch, you can't even
And
scratch.
if
So
you,
put
if
your
you do
hand
more,
on your
I
head,
recommend making it like
mark your arm,
rubberized.
measure it.
And we're
about
not
1
not
inch above
talking
the
you
wrist.
out of buying a 3D printer. I've got 6 of them. We have too many 3D printers, but
There's never one, because if you buy one, you can make another one, and another one, you can make another one, and if you have another one, you can make another so it goes even faster.
I'm just gonna say it's an addiction. But do you really need one, or do you have a friend that you can say, hey, can you 3D print, or you know somebody?
That's what I got.
Exactly.
People are all like, hey,
Yeah.
3D print, I can
But
3D
at some,
print you.
yeah, you know, so, you know, and these are the things that you need to think about. 3D printing is great. You can do this, I can do this, I can make this. And you made that part. Now what are you gonna do with your 3D printing?
I feel like I'm wasting time if it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
And like what we kind of joke around in the 3D thing is
Oh.
it's people think that it's a 3D printers is like push the button and it's completely like you're just like it's like a replicator on Star Trek.
Yeah.
No, it's not anywhere
You
near.
have to
You
know
pull it
hard-
out, you put it on, you go to a
You
comp.
have to know hard
There's
and
no
soft
way.
surface modeling. You have to
Yeah.
know how to
Correct.
organically resize
Well,
things.
you
You have
can-
to know your space limits.
Well, you can
Yeah.
you can actually, there's a
You
lot
can
of
buy
stuff.
files,
You
but-
can buy
But if they're not
past a lot of
scaled, if they're
modeling.
not scaled properly,
Yeah, but scale
Yeah,
it,
but
you
if-
know?
like,
But you can buy files that are already
We
scaled. You can
we
do
have
that.
a friend that's also does Fallout armor, and he's got the greatest
Oh.
explanation for what a 3D
Oh,
printer
yeah.
is. It's just a force multiplier in your workflow.
Yeah.
It's like instead of me cutting this out of foam or something like that, I can have that machine printing out this piece
it's like
and
having a
working
laser
on
cutter.
something else.
It does everything for you, but it's printing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can use it as in your workflow of, hey, I'm gonna build this. I can do this by myself right now. The 3D printer can be go over here, printing what it needs to print, and then come back to the finishing part as what it is. It's just another tool. It's like an orbital sander to a sandpaper to paint. It's just something else that you're gonna be able
Well,
to do with it.
for instance, while this was printing on two of my printers, I was building something else. I was building something out of foam. So if I didn't have my 3D printers, I'd have to, my time would be building this. And so I was building 2 things at once technically. Well, my printers were, you know, so again, the force multiplier. If you're doing multiple pieces or like, you know, I always say the professional cosplayers that do costumes, they're doing 2 or 3 or 4 costumes a con, you know, they can use a 3D printer to do gauntlets or something, and then they could work on, you know, a really cool outfit, and then finish the outfit, and then take that part off the printer, finish that, put something else off on the printer, so they're multitasking. It's a
But you
force
feel really
multiplier.
cool when you go into like a room with 5 3D printers and you're like, build.
Yeah.
Oh, you have conversations with
You
your
just
3D
kind of,
printer.
Oh, yeah.
morning, you sit there and just stare at it, enjoy
They
your
become
coffee,
family
like, keep it
members.
going.
So
Yeah.
we're
And that's like the dynamic of a family where you want to throw it out the window, and then you're like, oh, you're a nice person.
Completely off topic, you can buy, I don't know, I haven't seen them in a while, but you can buy filaments that smell like coffee
Oh, God.
and oranges
Yeah.
and stuff. I bought 3D printer, the filament that smelled like coffee. It was the best thing ever. I actually made some just random crap that, because I wanted my house to smell like coffee.
Well, I don't know if Plus is that much, but PLA when it first came out, because you only had
Oh,
two.
yeah.
You only had 2 filaments.
Yeah.
You had ABS, which is
Horrible.
ABS, everything's gonna
Do
die.
not use
and
ABS.
you had PLA,
ABS, which tries to kill you. in your
but
home.
the PLA you would buy anywhere. And when I first started printing, it was like, why why do I want breakfast? Like, that's because that smells like freaking waffles.
Yeah.
Every time it does it because it is made by a corn derivative,
Yeah,
like
corn-based
corn-based thing. It is like pancake syrup, and I'm like, I want freaking waffles. Man.
Oh, it was the greatest thing
We're
ever.
coming to the last 10 minutes. Before we figured I'd open it up for questions. And if you have any questions about 3D printing or costuming, attaching, something that we could probably potentially assist you with. Yes.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you can use computer programs to design your own, like STLs. What programs do you use?
You want me to run this one real quick? Go.
Yeah.
Okay. When I first started, I tried to do everything in Blender, and then you realize certain programs are used for certain things. Like Blender is a multi-surface, like animation stuff, kind of like that, where you make things. So that one I would use in a helmet situation that's more organic shaped. Stuff like this, it's a square, it's a rectangular, it's a tube. I'm now Fusion 360. If you don't make more than $30,000, I guess, a year on your 3D printing stuff, you can get a entrepreneur kind of thing. And that's where I started doing a lot more mechanical stuff for like a box, a servo mount, and all that stuff for BB-8 thing. So you roll into what you would use it for more than anything like just sticking with trying to do everything in one program. Talking about that also too is a lot of these 3D programs, you need RAM, video card, and if you start making models, you're gonna need space. Because when I started fleshing out a bunch of helmets and stuff like that, my helmet started at like, 250 megs for this helmet. Now I'm like 1.2 gigs. I'm like, where in the frick is all this going?
You will eat quickly. You will eat.
So for me, I always would say is roll into what you can try. Get your feet wet in over here. Go in over here. Some of the built-in stuff for, is it 3D Builder for Windows?
Yeah.
Okay. Mesh Mixer is okay. I'll use Mesh Mixer really quick if I want to cut something up.
Yeah.
And like make
That's
parts
where
out of it.
sells. You can cut it up and that's
there's-
where Mesh Mixer's great.
Right now, there's not. You can ask like Brad. He'll say Fusion 360. You'll ask Pam.
I'll just say this, if you're looking for free ones, you want to look up Tinkercad.
Yeah, Tinkercad.
You want to look up, of course, Blender, but Blender is very complex, so you definitely don't want a YouTube University. And that's where I've done it all. I've learned everything off YouTube University, all the way up to the point. So I use a combination of Mesh Mixer, Blender, and Mesh Lab, which is a fun one, which allows you to actually, so you can't ever save anything in Mesh Lab, but you can drop a model in there and say you have a wireframe from a game. Well, there's probably about 400 different mesh algorithms you can use, and you can to flesh it out, where you can say, okay, well, I've got this 16 faces, which is going to make it look really blocky. You can put it through a butterfly mesh enhancer algorithm, and it will take all of those and turn it into a smooth form. That's the cool stuff about it. So definitely look up Tinkercad, because that's one of the best ones and the easiest ones to start learning.
And Tinkercad's based on web-based. So it is basically take a square, we'll give you a square. If you want to overlap another square on top of it, now you have an X. Kind of stuff like that. So it's just using basic geometry to make something more geometric shapes.
And it'll help. It'll help you learn. So you always remember, you're going in there, you've never played with Legos your entire life, so get on it, read it, learn whatever you can, look up tips and tricks. There are thousands of them out there.
And that's a good thing. A good thing to do is, I learned 3D printing from a good friend of ours. He got me into it, and one of his things is just go to YouTube. YouTube is
Just don't fall down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, please don't fall down the rabbit hole.
That's anything YouTube.
Don't fall down the rabbit hole. It's a deep one.
I benefit from the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
See,
People
Friend has a 3D printer. That's
Friends
where it
with
is.
3D printers. See?
Yeah, get to know somebody with a 3D printer because it's funny, because you go over their house and go, oh, that's cool, and most of the time they're like, when did I don't care, go ahead and take it, because I don't even remember when I printed that.
I wasn't even going to start it anyways. Get out of the
Yeah,
house.
go ahead, get out of the house.
Okay,
Are there any other questions?
just a random question. How many of us have ADD? Really? Cool? Yeah, so hence why we have tubs of like, hey, this is really cool. I saw it on there, I can print it, and then like if I have the printer going, the printer will go and
Wait
then
a
can
minute.
build it. And then by the time I'll do it, I'll come back to it, but you never come back to it. Hence why I have a whole bunch of props and buckets, and I'm like, oh, that's a Soldier 76 pulse rifle.
I like the opposite.
Oh, cool, look, another shiny thing over
You
here.
need to define, you need to ask that question differently. You need to say, who has 3D printer ADHD?
No, I think ADD does its own thing.
No, because I have 3D printer because I've got an entire room full of like armor parts and weapons, and this, I printed this because it looked cool.
That's exactly what I did.
I'm like,
Anybody else have any other questions?
Oh,
Yeah, let's go back. Let's go back.
Shut up. No.
Curious on how you guys go about sizing your parts.
So that's where I like to use Mesh Mixer. It has a local transform, which is actually quite fantastic for scaling a model in a whole form. So some of them have what's called a world transform, which will scale it completely and entirely. So if you pull on this side
I was
grows
gonna say,
equally.
Armor Smith is kind of
Then you can do local. Now Armor Smith, I can't remember, do you have to pay for that still?
You still, yeah, you have to.
Mesh Mixer's free to learn how to scale in Mesh Mixer.
Armor Smith is
If
basically,
you're looking for it free.
you pay for it, it's a little expensive.
Yeah.
But you basically create a body model of yourself. You enter in all your dimensions, and it creates a mannequin, a T-pose mannequin.
And then you can drag and drop either STL. Do they still? I think they're still doing PDO or.
They do
I think they do
OBJs,
PDO and wave files.
and you do, it does OBJs, PDOs, STLs. And you basically pull
Audio
apart.
files?
Yeah.
No, they.
You
Oh, the.
hey. You bring a picture, you find a file of a armor part, and what you do is you take that armor part and you drag it over onto your body.
And it should helpfully scale it.
And then you scale it from there.
What was that called?
Armor Smith.
Armor Smith.
And I think
It's still in like I think in the last 2 years
I
it's
think
still in a beta.
It's been in beta for like 8 years.
It lives in beta.
Any other questions?
Yeah,
Was,
let's just
was
keep
there
going.
someone
Yeah,
else raise
Trying to
their
punch out more
hands?
questions.
I thought there was
Question.
Anyone else?
Okay, I didn't know we got that.
It's a lot of stuff.
How to
Again,
compile there.
think about, are you just gonna build, like, I want a set of gauntlets. 3D printed gauntlets are really cool. Find a friend that's got a 3D printer. Okay, if that's the only thing you're gonna use, I'm sitting on right now 8 people, it was 8 people that want to sell me their printers.
Yep.
Because
That's how I
they-
collected 4.
They is, because
Well, we need
they,
to give them time to come up with this.
yeah, but if you guys wanna come
Come
on.
take a look, we've got cards.
We got business cards
Yeah.
here, so you can reach any one of us through these right here. So you guys feel free to take a look.
Am I in there too? I didn't do this.
No,
You're part of the
no.
crew. Oh, dang it.
But anyways, if you got any questions, come on up.
Thank you all for coming. We appreciate you.
I feel like really accomplished because we had scrolled like the last time we scrolled so far away. We didn't even get to all the slide.
Thank you for listening to the Creative Play and Podcast Network. And feel free to enjoy our other shows, such as D&D Journey of the 5th Edition and Scion Ragnarok and Roll, a Scion hero to Ragnarok story. Thank you for listening.